Being the charismatic leader behind the Apple conglomerate can be described as perhaps one of the most dauntingly irreplaceable position ever. The man and the mind were both unfathomable and complex. However, all would agree that Steve Jobs was a committed and driven individual who only sought to seek the best always and expected the same from those around him. What we can all learn from him is right here. Being fiercely private about his personal life, he was popularly known for continuously steering any interview session to ensure the focus was on Apple and its journey. Among other things, Steve Jobs was also known for his super-individualistic style, anti-political stand. While being mostly a libertarian at heart, he would take any opportunity to discredit any and all economic doctrines whenever possible if it did not conform to his unique thought processes. This of course either rightly or wrongly perceived him to be constantly against a society where conformist behavior patterns are the order of the day. Adopting the styles where interaction and sharing of ideas was the basics of the work teams, Steve Jobs often encouraged a varied group of individuals of all levels within the organization to talk, discuss, and argue about ideas being tabled. In this way he would then be able to gauge the sentiments and acceptability of anything being designed or to be launched. Exploring this particular style is definitely an advantage that should be adopted and practiced as often as possible within any organization, as the participation of varied mindsets is both informative and beneficial. Believing that the person at the helm of every endeavor should be committed and competent to the highest levels, he also saw the wisdom in ensuring that individual would be loyal to the Apple brand rather than other elements like self-interest, pleasing the boss, or any other elements. In order to be successful at anything, one must have the ingredient of passion in the mix. Without this very vital ingredient, many projects or endeavors have run aground at the very first hint of trouble. However, for some this passion may seem apparent and even evident, but it should not, as is often done, be mistaken for enthusiasm. There are several ways to know if one is really passionate about a particular endeavor. Once a project has been identified and the interest is apparent in seeing the project to its end, the individual should start the process of learning as much as possible about the varied aspects of the said project. This will give the interested party an idea of what the project requires on every level until the end is reached. It will also give the individual a chance to evaluate his or her interests against the possible problems that the project presents. If the confidence and passion is still not shaken or diminished even a little, then there is a good possibility that the project chosen is a suitable match for the individual. Being around other people who have the same interest and still feel the desire to explore further into the said interest is another good indication of the level of passion available for commitment. Living and breathing, as some would refer to the sentiment required to be passionate about something, will be very apparent when there is a strong desire to be immersed in the interest to the fullest. Being able to spend a large portion of one's time devoted to the endeavor also is being passionate about it. When the time spent is considered pleasurable, the level of passion is evident. However, being overly consumed with being immersed with the interest could also project some level of unhealthy passion, especially when the commitment is disruptive to other aspects of the individual's life. Communication is an effective and necessary tool to employ when trying to carry out any endeavor or project successfully. However, the effectiveness of the communication plays a very important role towards the smoothness and achievable standards of any endeavor. The importance of effective communication should never be underestimated, not disregarded, if complete success is to be achieved. The important point to always remember is to ensure all that is being communicated is well received and understood before moving on to the next step in any situation. Getting people comfortable is another important element that should be practiced if one intends to get the best results out of anyone. When an individual is comfortable and confident, then the likelihood of that individual breaking all records in the quest to do and produce their best is very definite. Being able to relate to anyone at any time is perhaps a virtue that should be learned and practiced as often as possible. Empathy can go a long way in making others feel understood and accepted. When condemnation is kept to a minimal and exercised only when absolutely necessary, then those involved will be able to function more effectively as they are confident of being accepted and respected for their contributions and efforts. Avoid forming opinions and making remarks until one is completely sure of all that has transpired. By this simple act of patience being practiced throughout the exercise of gaining full knowledge of any situation, the individual is able to better relate to the different aspects of the said situation and thus render a better overall judgment which will then be accepted as being relatable. Very rarely can one find a project or endeavor that requires only the contribution of one individual, and even if such an endeavor is found, then there will always be relatable elements that require the passive participation of other parties in some form or another. Therefore, it would be prudent to acknowledge very early on, that more often than not, a group or community of people is required and even necessary to see anything to its success. Taking the time to build a workable and comfortable community will go a long way in terms of resources, ideas, expertise and many other positive contributing factors that play a vital role in any situation. Exchanging ideas could be a good starting point, and the Internet is an ideal platform for this exercise. Using the many tools available on the Internet, one can actually make contributions on many different levels that are both beneficial and enlightening to others. This of course a welcome respite from having to deal with things individually, as with a community working together more things can be accomplished. Using the various Internet tools to encourage participation online is also another avenue that can be tapped, as it can be limitless. When there is a sense of community commitment, the strong sentiments felt helps to boost even the lamest endeavor, which in turn has the potential of producing amazing results. Building a community also helps when it comes to promoting anything, because the network available is vast and effective. The exchange of information often happens at a very fast pace and can effectively spread to the intended audience without any hindrance. In order to optimize all the various uses of the tools available on the Internet, one must first acknowledge its advantages. Upon such acknowledgement, making full use of the said tools will not only help in any endeavor but also contribute largely to its success. Listing all the available tools and then making an informed choice as to which tools are the most suited for the exercise at hand helps to give the necessary aid towards a more successful and well-planned and executed foray into the online arena. Based on the previously disseminated information, which is recapped as having passion, learning to communicate, learning to relate and building a community, an individual should be fairly well equipped for the journey into the online arena. Making sure to include all these into a blogging exercise will help to enhance the possibility of better traffic flow, which in turn creates the necessary popularity levels that make the said blog a success. Taking the time and effort to always stay current and relevant is definitely the way to ensure a better percentage of success. It could also show the individual's level of commitment to the endeavor at hand, and as such creates a level of expectation and confidence in the followers of the blog. When there is a desired following, then there is also the possibility of a higher level of interest in the blog that would encourage others to want to be linked to your site or products. This also helps in terms of garnering revenue from various sources like links or advertisers being interested in being featured on the said site or product. Thus the emphasis cannot be clearer on the need to incorporate all previously explored avenues into making a successful business.